What's the relationship between capitalism and racism in the U.S.? Wall Street, the crown jewel of the U.S. financial establishment, was once one of the largest slave markets in the country. Slaves even built the wall that Wall Street was named after. Some call U.S. capitalism and racism conjoined twins. The New York Times found that for every $1 a white man earns, a black man is paid about 67 cents. The wage gap between black and white men has remained virtually unchanged since the 1950s.
For so many generations, black folks haven't had sufficient access to the capital or the wealth, let alone the bias you face in the workplace, the lack of access and opportunities to get jobs. And so we see it in criminal justice, access to quality health care and education, and most certainly the wealth gap. So not much has actually changed.
Black and Hispanic communities still have a higher incarceration rate than white communities, roughly 6 and 3 times greater, respectively. Good and high-paying jobs are less likely to go to people with a prison record. Skin color and socioeconomic status remain synonymous and perpetuate inequality. Only 7 out of the 614 billionaires in the U.S. are black, and there are just 5 black CEOs leading Fortune 500 companies. White households own 85.5% of the wealth. Black and Hispanics own 4.2 and 3.1% respectively. And U.S. politicians follow where the bulk of the money is. But even increases in minority members in positions of power don't necessarily lead to policy changes. Cambridge University Press recently published a study on the Congressional Black Caucus. It finds noticeable proportional gains in minority membership in Congress have yet to produce sizable policy gains for the communities they represent. The lack of access to health care, financial stability, and power in the system makes minorities more vulnerable to sudden changes. In the COVID-19 pandemic, minorities are about 5 times more likely to be hospitalized than white people. They also have higher death rates and account for 78% of U.S. COVID-19 deaths under the age of 21.
When you look at COVID and the effects, you can see that black and brown people are being disproportionately affected because of inequalities in the healthcare system. And the fact that many people of color have the jobs that you have to get out and go to. They don't have the ability to work at home. And when you see the educational system and kids at home learning, that many black and brown people don't have the access to the internet. That's what they mean by systemic racism. It goes through everything in our society.
Capitalism runs through everything in American society too. These conjoined twins reinforce each other. Poor minorities sink lower in the societal ladder, and the wealthy majority accumulates more power. The polarization hardens the socioeconomic status quo. It becomes difficult for minorities to move upward in society. Solving the problem requires tackling the injustices in both, and in today's American politics, free market and race are toxic to one party and rousing to another. When people get trapped in their condition, dissatisfaction and conflict break out.